Trump asked Melania to appear in bikini so other guys would see what they're missing. Other bombshells. The last time I read a story like this it was Suddenly last summer by Tennessee Williams. If you never read the one-act play of that name, you probably saw the 50s movie with Elizabeth Taylor, Montgomery, Clift and Katherine Hepburn. The plot is that a homosexual young man uses Elizabeth Taylor, in a white bathing suit that becomes transparent in water, in the movie version, to attract a lot of young men, so that he can pay them for sex. Change the motivation to incur envy, and that's Donald Trump. Turns out he told Australian billionaire Anthony Pratt that he liked Melania to parade around his Florida estate in her bikini so the other guys would get a look at what they were missing. This is just one of the tales that Pratt recounted to 60 Minutes Australia and they shared with the New York Times. On the recordings, Mr. Pratt recounts how Mr. Trump shared with him in December 2019 what he describes as elements of a conversation the president had with Iraq's leader right after a U.S. military strike there aimed at Iranian-backed forces. Days later, a U.S. drone strike in Baghdad would kill Iran's top security and intelligence commander. At one point, Mr. Pratt said, Mr. Trump discussed the phone call he had with President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine earlier that year that had helped lead to Mr. Trump's first impeachment. That was nothing compared to what I usually do, Mr. Trump said, in Mr. Pratt's recounting. It is not clear whether Mr. Pratt shared these accounts with prosecutors or whether prosecutors are aware of the recordings. Mr. Pratt also describes on the recording how Mr. Trump asked his wife, Melania, to strut around Mar-a-Lago in her bikini, so all the other guys could get a look at what they were missing. In a statement, a spokesman for Mr. Trump condemned prosecutors and said the information was coming from sources which totally lack proper context and relevant information. In his own statement, Mr. Trump defended his relationship with Mr. Pratt. He's a member of the most successful club in the country, Mar-a-Lago, and from a friendly country in Australia, one of our great allies, Mr. Trump said. I don't know him well, but he seemed like a nice person. He built a factory in Ohio and created American jobs, which I'm in favor of. Representatives for Mr. Pratt did not respond to several requests for comment. We'll see what happens next. This is pretty explosive stuff, other than the revelation about Melania, which is merely the vulgarity you've come to expect from Trump. I'm surprised he didn't ask Ivanka to sew the same thing, frankly. Then there's this. By the end of Mr. Trump's first year in office, his presidency was bearing fruit for Mr. Pratt. The Australian Financial Review estimated that Mr. Trump's 2017 corporate tax cut helped increase Mr. Pratt's personal wealth by more than $2 billion. That would tend to solidify a friendship. He also speaks admiringly about how Mr. Trump learned from his mentor, the lawyer and fixer Roy Cohn, how to walk up to the line of illegality without crossing it. Time equals 400 ms, greater than, he's got incredible balls, Mr. Pratt says. Trump says, would you go and tell that guy over there to steal for me? And so he can say, I never told the guy to steal. And things like that is how Trump gets away with it. Mr. Pratt also boasts in these private conversations about his relationship with Rudolph W. Giuliani, who is under indictment in Georgia on charges of conspiring with Mr. Trump and others to subvert the 2020 election results. Mr. Pratt claims on one recording that he paid Mr. Giuliani around $1 million to come to his birthday party as a celebrity guest. The pandemic prevented Mr. Giuliani from attending. But Mr. Pratt says on the recording that, now he rings me once a week. Rudy is someone that I hope will be useful one day, Mr. Pratt says. A spokesman for Mr. Giuliani did not respond to requests for comment. For $1 million Rudy will do anything. He desperately needs money. On one of the recordings, Mr. Pratt recounts a drive in Mr. Trump's presidential motorcade, in December 2019, when the president regaled him and Senator Lindsey Graham, a South Carolina Republican, about the airstrike he had ordered in Iraq a short time before. He also says Mr. Trump told him about a private phone call he had with the Iraqi leader. He said, I just bombed Iraq today and the president of Iraq called me up and said, you just leveled my city, Mr. Pratt recalls on the audio recording. And he said, I said to him, okay, what are you going to do about it? And then of course there was the conversation about nuclear submarines, a story which you read earlier this month. Trump's just a laugh a minute, isn't he? I find myself praying that generals and other people with common sense were withholding key national security information from this idiot. Maybe they were. Maybe that's why America is still here, due to unknown and unsung heroes.